ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and Vice President J.D. Vance, he's a lot like President Donald Trump. He doesn't really worry about how his words sound. He just says what's on his mind. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those little things really help us out, and they help our channel continue to grow. Our Vice President is one for the books. He goes online and he says things. He goes into televised interviews and he says things that no vice president has ever said before. This is the kind of guy he is. He's a little bit like you and me. He's a little bit like Hillbilly Elegy, right? He's J.D. Vance, and he's an awesome vice president as far as I'm concerned. Now, he was invited to speak at an event, and he's being interviewed. And during the interview, the guy's building him up, and he's talking about his history, and he calls him an intellectual, and talks about the fact that he's taught, he's written a book, all this stuff, and J.D. Vance quips. It's a funny moment, and he calls the guy an a-hole for calling him an intellectual, because you know how conservatives feel about intellectuals, right? Not that we're against them, but a lot of intellectuals are pompous, arrogant jerks. Now, a lot of intellectuals are great. I know a lot of very smart people. I like to consider myself an intellectual of sorts. I'm sure a lot of you are intellectual, and it doesn't mean we're bad people, but the caricature of the intellectual, as it were, is one that I think people look at and say, that guy's a jerk. And so I think that's what we're talking about here. And so he was just hilarious here. I thought it was a very funny moment, and it showed the kind of person that J.D. Vance is. It showed the humor and the quick wit that I think will bring him to the presidency of the United States in 2028. I think he's that guy. I think he's our guy. I want you guys to watch this. And by the way, I would pick Rubio as his vice president. I want you guys to watch this and let me know what you think in the comments.
Spiel, so great. Thank you. I had a few different spiels we could start with, but this is a good one. We are thrilled to have you here. I am thrilled to have this opportunity to talk with you, and so grateful that the work you're doing, and in a sense so in awe of it, because there are politicians out there who they've just been politicians. But you are someone who was an intellectual first. Some people don't like the word intellectual, but I mean it in the good sense of the term. You were writing for National Review. You were at the bar late at night arguing about and helping shape these ideas that you are now.
I come here for free and you insult me and you call me an intellectual.
Remind
me that I wrote for National Review. What an asshole this guy is.
That's fair. I will admit that I too wrote for National Review. But as I said in my introductory remarks earlier, I have no higher compliment than this guy likes to argue. So that is, it's a wonderful thing, and I think it really distinguishes you as someone who not just cares about and believes in these ideas, but has formed them.
Sure.
And so, I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the substance of what's going on a few of these topics, but also ask a little bit about sort of how your thinking has gotten here and how being in the role you're in now affects that, and what people who are not in that role need to understand to do it well. And so let's start here on the substance, though, because obviously trade is in the news from time to time. Trade is, and I think you've articulated this well, trade is one element of what is a much broader project.
Sure. About
reshoring, reindustrialization. I want to ask you, how do you define that project? What is the broader goal that the trade agenda is part of, and where do you see it ultimately going if it's going to be successful?